Among the things that I was most curious about for E3 2017 was how EA would handle Mass Effect Andromeda. The game was both a critical and a commercial failure, and we learned recently that the whole development history of that game was just a complete nightmare. Things like overambitious ideas that they scratched too late, technical difficulties with the Frostbite engine, internal disputes and politics, and just a general lack of leadership all came together to form the perfect shitstorm that is the final product of Mass Effect Andromeda. And while the game was technically in development for 5 years, the bulk of the game was built in the last year and a half due to all of the inefficiencies of the development history. It is no wonder that the game shipped the way it did in terms of animation, writing, character, story, you name it. So the question remained, will BioWare release some kind of DLC or additional content that will improve the game, or will they let Andromeda die an ungraceful death? While Kotaku did release an article detailing how BioWare Montreal was downsized following the critical and commercial failure of Andromeda, and how the Mass Effect series was essentially put on hold, some people still held on to the hope that there is more in store for the game. Well, with E3 2017 having come and gone, I think we finally have our answer. EA hosted their E3 2017 press conference a few days back, and there was nary a mention of Mass Effect to be found anywhere. It is a silence that I think speaks volumes for the fate of Andromeda and the Mass Effect series in general. If they did in fact have some kind of plan for the future of Andromeda, whether that's DLC or additional content, E3 2017 was the time to reveal that stuff. But the fact that they didn't say a peep about Mass Effect serves as the nail in the coffin. I think it's safe to say at this point that Andromeda will definitely not get any kind of DLC, any kind of additional content, and it most likely will not get a sequel. When Mass Effect does return, which I'm assuming will be way down the line, I expect it to be another reboot rather than a continuation to the Andromeda story. EA and BioWare would have to be pretty ballsy to revisit the now infamous title, and if there's one thing that I've learned about EA and BioWare these days, is that ballsy is not in their dictionary. With Andromeda, they're essentially taking the coward's way out. Andromeda is just something that EA and BioWare are trying to put under the rug and hope that people forget about it years down the line. And all bets are now being placed on BioWare Edmonton's game, Anthem, to repair BioWare's broken reputation. Again, the coward's way out. They completely fuck up Mass Effect Andromeda, and instead of owning up to it and reassuring fans that they'll do better next time, they decide to give us the silent treatment by pretending that Andromeda just sort of never happened. They're slowly and awkwardly just trying to backpedal away, hoping that nobody will notice, but all eyes are on them. Everyone's just seeing this happen, and they're just shaking their heads. It's kind of sad. I mean, even Square Enix has the balls to own up to their mistakes and do something about it, take responsibility. Remember that whole Final Fantasy XIV fiasco and how Square Enix turned it around with A Realm Reborn? Say what you want about Square Enix right now, but that was a ballsy move right there that I completely appreciated. They took responsibility for their mistakes, they took the financial loss, and came back with what is now touted as one of the best MMORPGs out there right now. It is honestly one of the greatest comebacks I've witnessed in gaming history. If fucking Square Enix can make a comeback like that, why can't BioWare and EA be ballsy enough to do the same? Why can't they take the financial and reputational loss and then come back strong with Mass Effect 2 and prove that they actually give a fuck about the damage that they did? They can try to bury Andromeda under the rug all they want, but it's not gonna just go away. That corpse is gonna rot and stink until they do something about it. This is not one of those cases where you can pull off a out of sight, out of mind. So instead of taking the coward's way, they could, face this head on, let the audience know that they fucked up and that they're willing to come back stronger, that they're willing to try again and do right by us. Oh well, it's not like EA has a history of giving a fuck about its consumers, so why start now? They'll have to talk about it eventually though. There's bound to be some kind of investors meeting and the topic of Andromeda has to come up. When that time comes, it'll be interesting to see what the sales and financial figures were, and it'll be interesting to see what EA has to say about this whole debacle. Especially now that Kotaku has laid the troubled development history bare with their investigative article. Regardless, long story short, my point with this video is that for those who are looking forward to more Andromeda content, DLC, additional content, whatever. EA silence on Mass Effect at E3 2017 should speak volumes for the fate of the game and the series as a whole. Andromeda will die off as it is, the Mass Effect series will go on hiatus, and BioWare Montreal, the developers of Andromeda, are now a shadow of their former self. That's my take on all of this though. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Also, if you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon so we can remain independent from third-party sponsorship and corporate interference. And to be further updated on all things BioWare, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.